DC Comics just released their brand new slate of solicitations previewing all of their new titles that are set to be released this June. And today, we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of my most anticipated DC Comics. And while the House of Batman and Superman are launching tons of brand new titles, like a brand new Penguin series, we're going to go ahead and spotlight 5 of my personal favorite series that I think are really going to put the DC universe in a new direction. Currently, the publisher is working on their Dawn of DC publishing initiative, which sees a lot of creative teams kind of switch in a kind of shakeup over at DC to reintroduce their publishing line with a couple of new bells and whistles. My name is Ariko Braddock, and today, let's go ahead and take a look at my top 5 favorite DC comics set to be published over in the month of June. But before we get deeper into the video, I want to go ahead and encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button on the video if you enjoy our content. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and kick things off with one of our first titles. We're going to go ahead and take a look at Steelworks #1, and this one is written by Michael Dorn. We have art from Sami Basri and a cover over from Mann. I want to go ahead and read off DC's solicitation text that they wrote for this issue. Forging the future. The metropolis of the future is here today, but can it survive a terrorist who's out for revenge against its builder, John Henry Irons, aka Steel, and his company Steelworks? And who possesses secrets that could undo everything John has worked so hard to build? While John's professional life is firing on all cylinders, his personal life is even better, as his on-again, off-again relationship with Lana Lang might be back on permanently. Now he must decide whether it's time to give up being Steel once and for all. But does John even know who he would be without his superhero identity? How does the other Steel, John's niece Natasha Irons, feel about his momentous decision? And does any of that matter if Steelworks crumbles around him when he lacks the superpowers to fight back? Writer Michael Dorn, the voice of Steel in Superman the Animated Series, teams up with artist Sami Basri to bring you the next chapter of Steel's saga in this not-to-be-missed 6-issue miniseries. So I'm really liking a lot of what DC Comics is doing to kind of shake things up over in the Superman franchise during Dawn of DC. And one character who I think isn't kind of explored enough over at the publisher is John Henry Irons Steel. So very happy to see him get a bit of a mini series that I hope will lead to even more content. I really like the kind of introduction of Michael Dorn, who was kind of the voice of John Henry Irons, who is, stepping aboard this title to go ahead and write the series. I really like the fact that this writer has a personal relationship with Steel. And again, I hope this leads to kind of more series in the future, and we'll definitely go ahead and cover this out when the first issue hits over in June. Let's go ahead and talk about something a little bit bittersweet for me. This is The Flash #800, written by Jeremy Adams, Mark Waid, Joshua Williamson, Geoff Johns, and Spurrier. We have art from Fernando Pasarin, Oclair Albert, Todd Nauck, Carmine D. Giandomenico, Scott Kolins, and Mike Deodato Jr. And we have a cover over from Taurin Clarke. This one is coming in at 48 pages. An oversized anniversary issue concludes writer Jeremy Adams' acclaimed tenure with special guests Mark Waid, Joshua Williamson, and Geoff Johns joining the celebration. As the Adams run races to the finish line, get a prelude to the new Dawn of DC chapter of the Fastest Man Alive's adventures from the dream team of Simon Spurrier and Mike Deodato. So there's quite a few things to talk about in this series. I think chief among them is the fact that Jeremy Adams is sort of leaving this Flash run. I think Jeremy Adams has really been a sort of fan favorite with the way that he writes a personal depiction of the West family. I'm really going to miss kind of all the interpersonal relationships that he's developed from Wally's wife to his kids, who have now been placed kind of prominently over in this title. That being said, I'm incredibly excited about the fact that DC is actually kind of poaching one of my favorite writers over at Marvel currently, Simon Spurrier, who has been doing just a wonderful job over on Marvel's current X-Men titles, specifically with his work with Nightcrawler and David Haller with the publisher. I really appreciate the way that Simon Spurrier approaches plots to these series, and I'm really intrigued with what kind of Simon Spurrier can bring with his, really dense approach to kind of plotting and horror over to the Flash property, along with artist Mike Deodato Jr. And let's go ahead and talk about another title. This is also a bittersweet book for me. It's Wonder Woman number 800, featuring writing from Becky Cloonan, Michael Conrad, and Tom King. We have illustrations from Joelle Jones, Todd Nauck, Daniel Sampere, and more. And we have a cover over from Yanick Paquette that we're taking a look at right now. Whatever Happened to the Warrior of Truth concludes in a landmark 800th issue. Diana's visions become more vivid as she finds herself trapped in the dreams of those around her. As she struggles to escape, her life as Wonder Woman hangs in the balance. When the dust settles, will she be the Amazon's greatest champion? Find out in this extra special celebration. So this one is also bittersweet for me because I've loved the current creative team over on Wonder Woman of Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad, and they're going to be finishing out their run with this special anniversary issue of the series. I really enjoyed kind of all the fantasy elements that Cloonan and Conrad brought over to Wonder Woman. I really like all the attention that they placed on the sort of ancillary characters of the Amazons as well. And just to be completely honest and completely transparent, I'm a little bit worried about the sort of sensibility and tone that the incoming writer, Tom King, is going to bring to this series. I would argue that I feel this way due to the fact that the miniseries kind of Supergirl Women of Tomorrow, I think Kara was a little bit too violent and it sort of went against her character. And I've seen Tom King make these sort of missteps on his main Batman run over with artist Mikel Janin. So I am hoping that Wonder Woman will be a sort of more streamlined and more kind interpretation of this character. Diana is such kind of a wonderful character over at DC Comics who I think several writers have been able to tell really great stories with. So I don't think there's any reason why Tom King and the wonderful artist Daniel Sampere, who's going to be joining him with his upcoming Wonder Woman run, should be able to lose sight of that character. I know that this is a really talented creative team, and I'm hoping that they put their best foot forward in this upcoming Wonder Woman run. Let's talk about another title that I'm incredibly excited about. This is DC Pride 2023 #1. This one is written by Grant Morrison, Nicole Maines, Christopher Cantwell, Nadia, Shammas, and more. We have art from Hayden Sherman, Paulina Ganuccio, Steven Sadowski, Skylar Partridge, Mildred Lewis, and more. This cover that we're looking at is over from Mateus Manhanini, and excuse me if I pronounce that incorrectly. DC Pride is back again with a brave and bold and an all-new collection of stories starring DC's LGBTQIA+ characters, many of whom will find themselves in thrilling team-ups the likes of which you've never seen before. Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy go to extreme measures to get a little alone time, but there's nowhere on the planet Crush can't crash. John Kent gets a comprehensive course in dark magic when John Constantine sinks a golem on him. Tim Drake and Connor Hawke learn that there's nothing more awkward than reuniting with an old friend after you've come out. And one of you was indoctrinated by the League of Shadows for a while. I would imagine that would be kind of a strange situation. Circuit Breaker struggles to stifle his powers after the Flash of Earth 11 leaps out of time stream and knocks them both into another dimension. Just how far would Flashlight go to honor his lost love? All these stories and many more in DC Pride 2023. This year's anthology also includes an introduction by Phil Jimenez, a 5-page preview of Dreamer's young adult debut written by Nicole Maines and drawn by Rye Hickman, and a parade of pinups from Babs Tarr, Maria Lovett, Brandt and Stein, Noah Dow, Travis G. Moore, and more. So I think this is a super, super exciting DC Pride issue. It's actually one of the most intriguing I've seen of the amount of characters that we're dealing with, and sort of like all these plot threads feel a little bit more essential kind of to the DC universe. And I think the thing that had just a lot of people talking is the fact that Grant Morrison is actually contributing some writing over to this DC Pride issue. And I love sort of the cast of characters that we were able to read off from the solicit. We had really kind of fascinating new characters like Circuit Breaker and Crush, and we had some old favorites like Tim Drake and Connor Hawk. It seems like this is an issue that's going to go across the DC universe to pull out some really kind of fascinating plot threads for characters, similar to the publisher's current Lazarus Planet events. And I think the kind of writing staff assembled for this issue was great, extending beyond Grant Morrison with people like Nicole Maines, Christopher Cantwell, Nadia, Shammas. This really does look like a very special issue, and I'm really excited for it. Let's go ahead and talk about a series that is actually ending in the month of June that I want to make sure we shine the spotlight on. This is Black Adam number 12, written by Christopher Priest, featuring art from Eddie Barrows and Eber Ferreira, and a cover over from John Gang. This is issue 12 of 12 of the Black Adam maxi series. There is no redemption for Black Adam, or is there? In the series finale, Black Adam faces his ultimate foe, himself. Having saved the All-Father of the Akkadian New Gods, he is granted the truest desire, redemption. But be careful what you wish for. So I wanted to say a few quick things about this kind of Black Adam series. Chief among them is, if you enjoyed Superman Lost and you haven't checked out Black Adam, this is a great series, and I think you're really going to get a lot out of it. Author Christopher Priest is such like a unique creator over in the space of comics. He always lends like a sense of humor and really adult and sort of nuanced writing. One of the things that I have absolutely loved about this series that we're getting a little preview of over with this cover is the relationship between Malik White and Black Adam. Malik White is actually a med student who finds out he's Black Adam's descendant, and the sense of humor that he brings to the series really offsets that sort of dark demeanor that Black Adam has. And I just think that Christopher Priest is able to kind of bring him into some insane situations that really kind of shake things up. And I've really appreciated the fact that kind of both creators have really introduced some fascinating plot threads over for Malik White in kind of the space of Black Adam over at DC. So those were some of my most anticipated comics over in the month of June for DC. I think we have some great titles on the way and a couple of big status quo shakeups. One thing that I wanted to mention that is something that DC really needs to watch moving forward is the fact that I don't see that the publisher is letting kind of each creative team finish what they had for the series before moving on. We recently learned that Flash writer Jeremy Adams may have had kind of more stories and may essentially have just been shuffled over with the next creative team due to the fact that Dawn of DC is now being published with these couple months, and we need to get kind of new creative teams on these books. And while I think the incoming creative teams are looking great across the kind of majority of these series, it's something that I would like to note over from DC in order to get kind of the fans' investment kind of paid off with the long-term run over on these titles. So what are your thoughts over on some of these DC comics coming out in June? And I want to know from you, did we miss any comics that you're really anticipating? Well, I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this video, and we'll be back really soon with more excellent comic book content. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.